Hey everybody, if you enjoy the Southern Fried Geekery podcast and you've been liking what you're hearing, and we always hope you do, come check us out in some of our extracurricular activities. Coming up in the next couple of months, we've got a few different cons we're going to be at.
March 16th and 17th at Not Just Another Comic-Con. This is going to be at the Little Rock Airport Holiday Inn. It is a horror kind of themed convention. We always had a lot of fun in when we've been at. And yeah, we'll be running a table and possibly talking to some good people.
A little bit sooner news. This next Saturday, the 2nd of March, Craig and I are going to be doing a Spider-Man panel at CalsCon. And that's the Central Arkansas Library Convention that they put on every year. I think it's just Saturday. I think we're scheduled around 3 o'clock. So come check out some Spider-Man goodness from us.
And if you happen to be walking around C2E2 in Chicago, you'll find me there. Come swing by and say hi and promote your whatever you're promoting.
Yeah, so come see us at conventions. We're going to start hitting some more up this year. Come hang with us. Come buy some
Southern Fried Geekery t-shirts.
Southern Fried Geekery t-shirts and or get
Swag.
some swag from us. And we'd just love to meet you guys. So see you at the convention circuit.
Bye, guys.
Go Forth Love Comics.
Woo! Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. And as usual, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie. Who am I here with today?
I'm Sean.
And Jerry.
And we are a three-man podcast today. Unfortunately, our buddy Craig is not feeling very well, so he has opted to go on sick leave. He had a few sick days left on the Southern Fried time slots. So he's going to check this one out. He is, however, in the back room of the studio, so he may check in to yell things at us if we're wrong later, because that's what he likes to do. But
when you get more Star Wars facts wrong, he will definitely chime in.
Yeah. Hey, summon Craig. Say something bad about, I'm just kidding.
if I whisper the Emperor 3 times fast, he kind of shows up.
Uh-oh.
Did you just do a pirouette?
It was pretty impressive.
So we are back. This is episode, I think 62 now. And this is going to be a listener question focus episode.
Woo!
But before we get there, we're going to talk about a little bit of books. Or at least a book that we read this week. We had a good time reading it. At least I did. I liked it a lot, but we're going to get there in just a minute. I just want to remind folks that if you haven't been enjoying the show, and we really hope you have, you should 100% come hang out with us on our Facebook group. We are having a blast there. We're growing. New members are joining every day. There's a lot of conversations that are being had there, and it's a lot of fun. It's rich with commentary. It's diverse. There's everything you want. There's dudes, there's chicks, there's people in between, there's straight, there's gay, there's black, there's white, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we have a great time with it. And so come hang out with us. We want you to. It's a lot of fun. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG on both of those pages. And we have an email because we're fancy and high tech. And you can reach out to us there at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And that's all the house cleaning. So, you want to talk about a comic?
Hell yeah.
All right, let's talk about a comic. So this week, as you guys know, every week we pick a book to kind of roundtable and talk about. And this week is no different. So we grabbed a new book this week. It's a #1 from Boom Studios, which I like it. I like it when we talk about some of the smaller publishers. We talk about Marvel and DC a lot because they're the main gigs. But, sometimes we get to talk about Boom. We talk about Aftershock, some of these smaller guys. Ahoy, if we ever get a chance, because I like Space Kitties. But this one it's from Boom Studios, and it is called Ronin Island, written by Greg Pak, drawn by Giannis Milonogiannis.
You got this.
Milonogiannis. I deeply
That was me
apologize.
last week.
And Irma Kniivila. And so just to give you a little brief setup about this book is like a culmination of East Asian cultures.
Yes.
If I can say that. So the book takes place on a little island off the coast of China. And a little backstory, in the history, I think about 30 years before this, they had something called the Great Wind, which apparently just wreaked havoc. It destroyed lots of stuff. It broke down the cultures and kind of blew all of these different people from different East Asian cultures onto the same island. I mean, you've got Chinese folks there, you've got Japanese folks there, and you've got Korean folks there. And they've all been kind of just living peacefully among each other. And because these are way different cultures. Like we think of them in the world, they're in one little bubble, but they're entirely different cultures.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's part of the point that Greg Pak is trying to make here. But so on this island, they've set up their own kind of form of government. They've got their elders. They've got their like it's an emergent culture, and so part of this culture is they have a contest to see who leads the island, who's going to be like the tribal leader or what have you. And you've got two different characters that kind of emerge as the main focal point of this book. One of them is Kenshi, and he's a Japanese boy, and he's the son of a samurai, and so he's been training to be to kind of know those skills. And your other one, he's kind of like, he represents the elite, right? Like he's a little bit of old money. They live in a nice house. He's been kind of groomed for this. He's supposed to be the leader. But your other character, it's a young woman, and she is not that. She is the daughter of a farmer. She's sitting in her backyard. They've got a little racket fence, just rickety fence hanging out. She's cooking fish for her cats, and she's Korean, but she's kind of like, where Kenshi is where Kenshi's like a samurai. She's just kind of that Korean girl that lives down by the beach, but she's been training too, and she's also the head of the street. And I'm trying for my life of me to find her name.
Hannah. Well, okay. The Korean lady that works with me, the name is Hannah.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, sorry about that. It's been a day already.
And also for the record, I wasn't going to be that guy. Is Kenichi.
Kenichi?
Yes.
Okay.
There's an I in there. It's very like with the lettering. There's
I didn't catch how you pronounce it.
Kenichi?
No, how did he pronounce it?
Oh, Kenshi.
Kenichi.
Yeah,
I say he just missed the I, which like I said with the lettering that's kind of close.
Oh, for sure. Okay. So Kenichi, I apologize, and also Hana, I apologize to you fictional characters.
Yes.
But
and if you're mad at him the way he pronounced it,
jump out of the book and choke me. But no, so Hana's she's out there, she's cooking a little fish on a stick and feeding it to her cat, and she's just. Yeah, she's not feeling it. She's just like, like this, everything's kind of, the deck is stacked against me. We all know what's going to happen. I'm just not going to do this. I don't want to take part in the contest. And her teacher, her sensei, I guess is with the equivalent of, I don't know if that was whatever, I don't know what the Korean terminology would be, for her teacher. But anyway, he knows her. So he's just like, yeah, I guess we're just going to check out and let the rich boy win. And she's not having it. She's like, oh shit, no, we can't have that. So, as you're reading this, you're kind of leading up to it and you're like, okay, so is this fixing to be Mortal Kombat? Are we about to have some fight to the death? It's not that kind of book. No, basically they do a triathlon. They go into a foot race where they have to run, they have to do some boating, and whoever gets back first to ring the bell wins. Well, they do, and they run their race, and it's kind of hilarious. This is one of those, Greg Pak does a really good job with these type of action scenes where it's really dynamic and it reads really fast. And they get back and, well, lo and behold, it's a tie, because that's just what happens. I mean, you don't have a clear winner, and it's perfect for this style book. You've got a guy and a girl working together. You've got two different cultures working together, and they're kind of equal. And they're going to need to be, because after they tie, off in the distance, some horns start blowing, and it's the intruder alert, their equivalent of. And this giant boat, this kind of like, I hate to use a Johnny Depp reference, but it's kind of like that scene from Pirates of the Caribbean where they just come out of the mist. And that's what this giant boat does. And it's got the symbol of the Shogun on it, who has supposedly been dead since the Great Wind, sent for 30 years. And so they're all very confused, like you would be. It's just, what's happening? Where did these guys come from? And out of this boat comes another, like a feudal, I guess it would be.
He is a samurai general.
He's a samurai general.
Yeah, basically. Crap, they said the thing.
The title.
We're terrible at this. Retainer for the shogunate.
Okay, yeah. So he's a representative. So essentially, he's coming out to
the envoy for the shogun.
Yeah,
he's a general.
But he shows up, and he's basically reinstating feudalism. Is what his attempt to do. He's like, we'll protect you. He's running a racket. At least that's what it looks like. We'll protect you, but you gotta donate like half of what you make to us, and you've left our culture, and you're kind of traitors to the shogun. And they're like, well, no, like we were all at that battle. They're dead. We've seen people try to do this before. and we're a culmination of cultures, so you can't do this. And the guy's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this isn't bullshit. We're actually who we are. And you're going to need protection. Why do you need protection? Well, because there's some really terrible monsters about to rain down hell on you. And there's not a lot you can do about it. And it's coming from the mainland. So, which should, it begs some questions, I think. If it's coming from the mainland, why did they need to come to this island? It sounds like they're the ones who need the help more so than they need to be protecting. But that's the basis of this first. It ends. They all kind of spring into action, right? Like,
right.
They're all going to work together, and
the threat shows up on the island.
It does, and it's a weird, scary. It looks like somebody took the Ice King from Game of Thrones and stuck a hat on him.
Kind of how they look. Kind of remind me of the zombies from Cabaneri and the Iron Fortress.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit like that. Also, I got a little bit of the vibe because I'm guessing they came up from the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And
like
kind of reminded me of Caleb brought up Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And like how the pirates all kind of look like they got the coral and all the
barnacles and stuff
on them. And these things are kind of coming out looking like that to me. Like, but just obviously a Japanese influence.
So and if there's a giant splash page in here where you first see the zombie monster creatures. And the one leading them has a sword sticking out of his back. And I was trying to figure out if he's just got it back there to use later, or somebody's actually stabbed this dude and it's just kind of hanging out in his back. He can't reach it.
Maybe both.
Really funny.
Yeah. They all look like they're, they were fallen warriors or something at some point. Right. But it's just kind of, interesting, how these things showed up the same time the general did.
But the general, if you look at the last page, the general is right behind them going to fight them. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's pretty much all this issue is. Like, there's not a lot more to this issue. A lot of it's taken up by the race. So, like, I want to back up for a minute. And what did you guys think about this before I get into it?
Oh, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I really, it's kind of interesting because whenever you get, stuff of an Asian background, you usually only get one culture of it. So it's kind of nice to have all these different cultures mixed in because, they even say, I think at one point that the woman who is taking care of Kenichi, I think she's Chinese, right? That they mention, cause I think the general mentions it. And then, the guy that's with Hana, they didn't say anything about their nationality, but
she's Korean, so I think he probably would be too.
Well, okay. From what I can tell, like the old woman who they mentioned is Chinese. I think she's kind of more just, I don't think she's taking care of Kenichi because when it showed him at his home, it was obviously clearly his Japanese family. Mm-hmm. His mom, his dad had passed away, which they had mentioned. That's why he inherited the armor that he stupidly wore to a race, but got to hold up the honor. Mm-hmm. Hannah, like the guy raising her, didn't clearly say that like her father. And he's even seen later wearing, his clothing, which granted, like, when you're mixing cultures, now everyone's just going to stay wearing their culture's clothing. And he even has a samurai sword, but he also has the shaved head with the top knot of like a samurai. So I think the guy raising the Korean Hana is Japanese.
Oh, he may be.
Yeah. They haven't gotten into this. And that's since I'm talking now, I really like the issue. It's almost that like, it's going to, and hopefully maybe there'll be time to breathe. I'm very interested in this island and the mixing of cultures more so than the zombies at this point.
Yeah.
And I would have really liked to delve into what, especially this time period of these cultures blending together like this. And honestly, it's still early. It's first issue. There's so many, my hopes is like, we'll get into that. And honestly, I'm actually hoping for maybe a third permanent character who will represent China as well with the trio. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think it's a solid start. It's definitely very fast paced. Like I said, get quick introduction of the two who we're assuming going to be the main characters. Good chunk of it into the race and then setting up the major conflict for this book. And it's all done in one issue. I ain't going to say slow it down a little bit maybe, but like I would have liked a little more world building.
Mm-hmm. So that was my kind of my thing is it was so fast paced. I ran through it and then I wondered where the rest of my comic was.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So what about you, Jerry?
Yeah. It was definitely, quicker paced. I enjoyed it. I'm along for the ride. It's just interesting whenever you have this, stuff going on in this particular age because the world around them, doesn't stop moving.
Right.
So, you know, before this samurai showed up or anything, we could have guessed it be any century.
Right.
You know? Right. But I completely look forward to seeing how it goes. I've read very few Greg Pak things. I know Caleb stands by him firmly. He's very good at giving Asian representation.
Yeah.
Like, you know, most of the characters that he creates or writes, you know, are that Amadeus Cho, Met Cadet Yu.
And he's Korean.
Yeah.
And so he's really good about making sure. So when you have Asian characters, a lot of times you default to either being Chinese or Japanese. Those are kind of the main, what we think of in the West. Those are the main populations. But he's really good about showing the differences and showing you, like, no, these are Korean people or these are Vietnamese people, you know, from wherever, South Pacific Islanders. He's really good about making those distinctions.
Oh, for sure. And like I said, my nitpicks about like the pacing of the story and wanting to see more of the world is not a knock. I'm on this book too.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in it for the run, and I'm just hoping this is what I want out of the book, because it's a very interesting premise with cultures who didn't intermingle a whole lot back in that era. So like I kind of like, for some reason, I want to see a slice of life book just of what goes on with how that happened, and maybe we'll get into that. I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
But I said the art's solid. The writing, of course, is fantastic, because like I've heard nothing but Greg Pak's praises. This is the first time I've ever read any of his work. So yeah, I highly recommend, especially if you are a fan of any of these cultures, because I feel like it's going to get a good representation of each.
Yeah. So when I saw this book solicited, I'd never seen Giannis Milonogiannis's artwork, and I didn't really know what to expect. But I've read the last few books that Greg Pak has done, specifically, you know, Met Cadet Yu, and I like that style. And this style is really, really great, because it's not, much like the characters in this book, it's a conglomeration of styles. So there's an anime influence in this, but there's also, you know, there's a Usagi Yojimbo influence on this. Like, you get this really, really good blend of, like, it's not so overly cartoonish in the way that Usagi is, but it's also not, I don't really know how to. It
kind of hits that, for me, it hit, like I said, the Usagi thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot to mention that. It does have that vibe and the style and kind of the simplistic but detailed way it draws. It doesn't look like it, but it's also, I got some Avatar vibes from the art style. And that's a complete compliment, because Avatar: The Last Airbender is amazing. And it's just, like you said, it's definitely, you can tell that the person whose name I'm not going to brutalize, because Caleb's done it enough already in this review, has some definite influence in there, and it's all the best influences, I think, that work for this story.
And he blends them really, really well.
Yes.
In a way, like I said, I was kind of, you know, you think of these people who have strong manga influences, guys like Daniel Warren Johnson or Trad Moore, and I don't think that style works for this book. Like, I don't think that extreme, just so heavy, action-oriented manga works, but blending this kind of, maybe a soft cartooning.
It kind of, it's going to escape me because I cannot remember the artist, but Wayward, it kind of has that sort of vibe for me.
I can see that with a bit of a sketchier style, but I see where you're getting at, though. Back when I was reading Wayward, we need to get back on that.
Back in the day,
I think it's over.
I know. I need to find those other issues.
Get it collected,
right?
So and again, the only if I had a nit to pick with this book, it's that it does move too fast.
Yeah.
Especially because the majority of the book is. So this is the problem I think I have with, you know, we spoke about Finding Neverland, or not Finding Neverland, the other one, Promise Neverland. Finding Neverland is something much different. So we spoke about the Promise Neverland last time, and I think I had a similar issue with that. Is these first issues, they end up taking you to what the problem is going to be, but I'm almost kind of a rip the Band-Aid off. Like, like the first issue it needs to build the characters and introduce you to the world and let you know kind of who these people are, but it doesn't need to feel like filler.
Right.
And so much of like the introduction to the Promised Neverland, and inevitably this book, the Ronin Island, kind of feels like filler, but it's entertaining filler.
Right.
So the race was excellent. and the race really does kind of show you who these kids are. It gives you a really good idea that Hana is kind of quirky, energetic, and fun. She's not like she'll win. Like, you know, she tips homeboy's hat over so he can't see, and she pushes the boat off the deck so he has to struggle to get it. Like, she's gonna win, and it also shows his drive. Like, he is being pushed by the thought of his father and his ancestors, and he is being pushed by trying to prove himself.
Indeed.
And they both kind of are, just in different ways. But I wish we had have gotten to. I wish. Don't bury the lead. Maybe. Yeah. I wish we had have gotten to the climax of the problem soon, or at least gotten more time with the Shogun guy to get there.
Now, I'm not claiming myself to be anyone who can tell Greg Pak how to write a book.
Oh, for sure.
But personally, with the first issue, I would have opened up with a lot more history of the island and explained not what happened, obviously, because the Great Wind is going to be a big mystery they're going to reveal, I'm sure, through the story. But it's kind of show a day in the life of what's going on and how the cultures are blending. Introduce Kenichi and Hana, do the race, and I would have ended the book with the boat coming.
Right.
Already established that they are it, as far as I know. Like, this is it. Build all that up throughout the issue. Like, they're alone. This is it. The Great Wind destroyed every other culture. Then the boat arrives. I would have ended it with that and not gotten straight. And then next issue, dealing with explaining that, and then end that with the monsters.
Yeah.
I think that would have paced it a bit better, and we would have gotten a little more background, but who knows? Like, I don't know how long the book's supposed to run, if it's going to be a miniseries. He's trying to get all those things in there. I can't wait to find out, because I'm staying on the book.
Well, for sure. And it's on my pull list. So with me, anytime you have a contest, even if it's supposed to be a situation where the characters end with a tie and where you want to be rooting for both of them, I like to have enough information to where I can at least pull for one side or the other.
That's true. Yeah.
And so you're going into a contest, like, before you know that,
like, just meeting these characters.
Yeah, before you know that the Shogun's coming in, before you know that there's a weird zombie attack about to happen, you're just meeting these characters for the first time, and they're immediately going into a race, and into a race that it's stylized so that the race actually introduces you to a character. Right. But I still would like to have known enough about them to, you know, it's fun. Like, you pick a team. It's why you watch sports, right? Like, even if it's two teams that aren't quote unquote your team, Jerry said no.
We don't sports ball.
You want to root for one side or the other, even if you know, sometimes you just hope they both win. And in this case, they kind of do. But I would have liked to have known who to I known enough about them I could pick a side. And I didn't get that with this. It was just kind of like walking into a game that you didn't know what the rules were, and you didn't know who the players were, and knowing that somebody's going to win, but you don't know that you care why. I would have liked to have cared why. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think, like I said, if they had ended it with the reveal of the Shogunate boat, we could have gotten more than just a page and a half of introductions before we got into the race. And I get it. Like I said, you saw the farmers cheering for Hana, which shows that she is from the farm. And it's the classic, you know, the samurai, even though this is a blending of cultures, are still looked upon from this island, what we've gotten so far, as the upper crust, even though they're all just working together. Yeah. Their motto, even in the island, is together in strength. So, like, they all work together, but it's still kind of viewed as a hierarchy. With
you're getting a class-based understanding of this culture, and inevitably there's going to be something said about that, I'm sure, if it hasn't been already. So, yeah, no, I'm on it. I think it's a lot of fun. I also think it's a really dynamic and fun book for people who aren't a 30-year-old dude.
For sure.
Like, this book, if you're wondering if you can give this book to, because it does have a young guy in it, and it does have a young girl in it. You know, if you're wondering if you can give this to your kids, 100%. Like, it's not hyper violent. It's kind of like Ninja Turtles when you were a kid. They're doing kung fu kicks, but, you know, Wolverine doesn't actually stab anybody in the cartoon. He just has claws for no reason.
And I think that's kind of nice, because Greg Pak did that with Mech Cadet U as well. He kind of makes it where it's almost all ages, or at least teen and up, you know.
Yeah, I didn't see a rating on this. Hang on, let me open it up and see. Does Boom, because usually, you know, they'd put it on the
right. And I mean, like, in this first issue, for sure, there's absolutely nothing that's going to be, I think that would be too much for a kid.
No.
Now, granted, next issue when they're killing the monsters, we don't know if it's going to turn super bloody graphic or not.
I don't think so.
I don't feel like that.
I don't get that vibe from this book. I think that it's going to be.
I think it is going, as we compared to earlier, Avatar. I think it's going to be an older kid range book. older kids, young teens, but anyone, obviously, from that age,
Right.
can appreciate a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I think this is a great book too. If you want to take your youngins up to the comic book shop and get is Craig, are you okay? We love you. Please don't die. The infirmary ward back there.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, take your kids up to a comic book shop and buy them this book. It's a lot of fun.
And it's only going to be 5 issues, so
Right?
you
Yeah.
know,
It did say it was
Yeah.
5? Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, it was solicited as 5 in
Oh,
the.
see, I missed
yeah.
that. And I guess, okay, and as I stated earlier when we were talking about the pacing, that kind of
That's
explains it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on.
just getting through the story. But
For sure, but highly
no,
recommend it.
Super, super good. And again, like we haven't mentioned Irma Kniivila's colors, but I almost like the colors in this better than I like the art. Like the colors are cool. Like they're
They're very
really
cool.
cool. So
Indeed, absolutely.
that's my last little bit. Well, all right. Well, that's the show, guys. Bye.
All right, deuces.
Toodles. No, we're just kidding. We got
We surprised we cut our episodes down to 30 minutes.
new format. We don't give a fuck anymore. No.
Craig, come cough on the microphone for the next hour.
No, we got some listener questions to dig into, and I'm really excited about this. This was for a long time. This was my favorite part about the old outline because it lets us interact with you guys at home who are listening to the show, and especially now that we've got our Facebook group and it's on and popping, to use a phrase that's much younger than I should use. But it's so cool, and so we actually have some really good questions. Now I want to state that if you have asked us a question and you don't hear it on this show, worry not. Your fearless Caleb has got it saved on a document, but because we don't have unlimited time, we're not going to be able to get through all the questions we have. But we will not leave you out. We will get your question on the next episode if we don't get to it this time. So, apologies in advance if that happens, but please don't get your feelings hurt because you're coming, you're in line, you're coming down the pipeline. You just hadn't got there yet. And, I'm kind of going in order of how they were given to us.
Right.
For just fairness. So the first question, and I'm really excited about this one because it's one of those lists. Nerds love lists.
Lists are amazing.
We really do. And this one is our top 5 Marvel comic characters. And this question is asked to us by one Mr. Caleb Anderson, who spells his name with a K. So
It's a rebel.
the wrong way. No, I'm just kidding. It might not. Well, no, it is the wrong way. But no, it might not be. Who knows? So who wants to start off our lists?
I'll go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
You're positive?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, to the surprise of no one, you're about to hear a lot of X-Men because that was basically, that's been my Marvel, was 90% circumvented around the X titles. So let's go, because I'll do the one that's not first, and that is She-Hulk.
Ooh.
She-Hulk started to become a character I was really interested in when, once basically they started making her have her own, keeping her in mind. Cause like when she first transformed, if I'm not mistaken, right, she was very much as she is now. It's kind of come full circle though, right? In her first appearances, she wasn't overly intelligent when she changed
She was
into
the savage
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they hit an era where she maintained her personality. And, some people didn't necessarily like where, especially it got a lot more of just kind of TNA-ish and a lot of like,
Right.
that kind of stuff. But honestly, that's kind of where I like the character, at least for the time with my readings, you didn't see that. So She-Hulk's always been one of my favorite characters and I'm loving the new iteration.
Yeah,
of
Jen's
course,
cool,
the
man.
current one. Now let's get into the X teams here. Nightcrawler, the blue furry swashbuckler. I've just always loved his character. I loved his origins and I love his fight style and his power is still one of the coolest out there.
Nice.
Following that, it is Rogue. Again, another very cool power, very strong character after murdering somebody. But we don't talk about that as much anymore. But again, a redemption story, started off a villain, became one of the premier X-Men in my book. After that is Beast. Beast has always been also another one of my favorite characters, because another guy who kind of went through that weird transformation when he wasn't blue and fur like most people know him today, and dealing with that, which I thought I really loved to take in the Ultimate X-Men of when that happened and all it kind of got a little more personal. I remember it going in the main continuity of just like his really feeling down on himself and all that kind of, which you can understand. And finally, Storm, Mohawk Storm, if you want to be specific.
Yep, the only Storm.
Just a badass woman. And just, like I said, always the, at times official and other times unofficial leader of the X-Men. And just always loved her as a character. So yeah,
Nice.
That's my list.
My list, to no one's surprise, is going to be basically variations of characters because, I can't like the actual character. I love the variations of them. So we have Scott Lang Ant-Man. Honestly, did not fall in love with this character until the movies, and now I will pick anything up just about that he's in. Okay. Yeah, I just really like the... you don't have a lot of like single dads in comics.
Right.
And I don't know, to my knowledge, thinking about it, but I really like how they kind of, put that into the stories and stuff that he's in, where he's like, a good father. He's just kind of a screw up in other places sometimes.
I gotta honestly say, I know a lot of your favorite characters. Yeah. I didn't know Ant-Man was up there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, it's easily been from the movies. The last little run that they did with Ant-Man and the Wasp was great.
Sweet.
Robbie Reyes' Ghost Rider has been up there, and he jumped way up there during that first Avengers storyline.
Oh, absolutely.
I just love the whole concept of, having the car, and, also he's kind of controlled by this. Whereas whenever you had Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze, they were controlled by it, but they used it, a lot to, fight baddies and stuff. Whereas a lot of times Robbie Reyes kind of is along for the ride on it.
Right.
Especially right now. Scarlet Spider.
Did you mean that pun?
the Ghost Driver.
Fuck off, Craig. Yeah, I said your name. Walking by. Then I've got Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider, on there.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about that is you have this identity crisis, right? Because whenever he first popped up, they were like, oh, Peter's the real clone and this other guy's the real, version of him. And then after that, after them finding out that he's the actual clone, he just kind of had to figure out who he was and where he belonged in this world. He's made the ultimate sacrifice a number of times. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, it's been a constant struggle with him of life and death and, how to live his life.
And Hoodie Spider is still the best spider.
Yeah, the costume. It's so stupidly simple, but I like it a lot. Yeah, I love it so much. And of course, Beta Ray Bill.
Of course.
Horse Thor. My horse Thor. I gotta love him. He's just got this sense of purpose, because for the longest time, his whole thing was protecting his people. They were all destroyed on a planet. He had a ship that had their compiled DNA in it, and that was his main goal, in life was, finding a new planet for them to survive on. He ended up finding it. It got destroyed by Galactus. He's had some tragedy, and but he's always, stuck through it and come out, as that, heroic character and helping people in need and everything and doing the right thing. Like, he's very altruistic. And then lastly, Agent Venom, Flash Thompson.
Right.
Again, you have a lot of personal struggles. He was Peter Parker's bully in high school. You find out because his dad was a drunk and beat him. He went through, war, struggled with his own alcoholism issues, struggled with, just issues in general with having the symbiote and having that, same kind of like, addiction to the power of that. Went on so many different adventures and stuff with that. And it was just great character. I really liked the progression that, was it Rick Remender and, Cullen Bunn put him through. It was really great. So yeah, those are my 5.
Those are awesome. Good lists. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to throw mine out here. Number 5, Monica Rambeau, Spectrum. This is a character that I absolutely love. She doesn't get a lot of love. She's not one of the mainstream Marvel characters, although I think she'll probably pick up in the near future. Some really great places you can find her. Avengers number 221. It's one of my favorite issues. It's kind of where she really comes out. She was in Al Ewing's The Ultimates and The Ultimates 2. Specifically The Ultimates 2. It's just an incredible book. I think that was Al Ewing.
I read The Ultimates. I just don't remember her at all.
Ultimates 2 is, it was its own title. Okay. She was in the Ultimates briefly, but she's in like the majority of the Ultimates too. Avengers Volume 3, which is my favorite run of the Avengers of all time, but she's in the latter part of that, and like around, I think number 46 is when she comes in and joins the team, and they do a lot of spacey wacy stuff, and she's in it through the end of the series, and she's just a powerhouse, man. Okay. She's a really cool character. All in all, she's got kind of ties to Captain Marvel, to Carol Danvers. It's like she gets her powers in a little bit of the same way. For a while, I think very briefly, she actually was Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Yeah. So really, really cool character. Number 4 for me is Multiple Man. I love Jamie Madrox. That dude, like, if you read the Messiah Complex or Peter David and Coy Pham's X Factor, I think X Factor Volume 2 is when he really takes over, kind of leads the team after the House of M or M Day. It's just, he's a really complex character. And there's a lot, like, that well runs deep. There's a lot of emotions there. Hercules is number 3. He's just a lot of times he's comic relief, but he's one of those characters that when he shows up, there's going to be some type of moralistic lesson to learn, that he's going to have some downfalls. Every time you read him, he's going through some trial. And of course you think of the trials of Hercules, but he's always got some hill he's climbing up. Greg Pak, we just spoke about a book that was written by him, the Incredible Herc run that came out on the tail end of the Incredible Hulk Volume 2 stuff, is so killer. And that's like Amadeus Cho is in that, and you kind of understand their friendship. It's just badass. My girl, the Scarlet Witch. See, yours was heavy X-Men. Mine's heavy Avengers. That's my wheelhouse. I love Wanda. I've loved Wanda since the minute I saw her in a comic book. She is kind of my Marvel queen. Kurt Busiek and George Perez just understood that character like very few people do, and really just made her an outstanding individual. She's integral to the Avengers. When I see an Avengers team that she's not on, I care just a little bit less, because you need, like, just like you need the big 3, you need Wanda. And shout out to James Robinson for his little maxi series in 2012. Each issue had a different artist on it, so there's too many to list, but that was another fun book. And you don't see, like, she's only gotten a solo title, I think, one other time. And it's so cool. And then last but not least, my boy, the Hulk. Y'all know I love Bruce. He's my guy.
Of course.
There's 2, like, I'm a shill for the Hulk, so there's very few Hulk titles that I don't like on the surface. I mean, there's some I like a lot less than others, obviously, but Peter David, to me, is one of the quintessential Hulk writers. And, I gotta say, Al Ewing and this Immortal Hulk series that he's doing right now, I absolutely stand by what I've said before. I think that this is a classic Hulk series. This is a series that we'll be talking about in the next 20 years. So, yeah, those are my 5, man.
Some good ones.
A great, just heavy Avengers. So fun stuff.
Like I said, Avengers was your wheelhouse going in, and X-Men was mine. And as a Marvel, we're both Marvel kids.
Did either of us read? I didn't read Avengers versus X-Men. Did you?
Nope.
We're not playing that game.
Nope.
I did not hear great.
Honorable mentioning, because I couldn't name a single character that I could put in this list, but New Mutants as a whole.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I was thinking, like, who can I put in there? Like, it's that team.
Strong
for
guy.
me, for all of them. Strong guy.
With his little glasses. Mm-hmm. Where do you find glasses like that? They're just tiny.
He just has them handmade.
All right. Our next question comes from Mr. Mike Del Vecchio. Hey, buddy. What IP is going to be the first MCU flop? Or do you think radical ideas like Guardians and Ant-Man succeeding mean that no idea is too crazy to throw at the general public? So I want to start this one off. You're cool with that?
Yep.
I think we've already seen it. I mean, you've got movies like Iron Man 2. You've got movies like the second Thor film. I think we've already seen Marvel flops. As much as I love these movies, and I do, I absolutely love them, I don't think you can ignore the fact that they have had unsuccessful films. And each of those films got a moderate level of success, but they've had films that were not good. I also would probably throw Guardians 2 in there, but I know y'all love that movie, so I don't want to get stuff thrown at me. But yeah, so I think we have now. Will we see one that just absolutely bombs? Maybe, but I don't know that we'll see one that bombs to the level of maybe Suicide Squad.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not trying to make this a Marvel versus DC contest, but so, I mean, that's kind of my answer to that is we've already seen that Marvel can falter. It just, the machine hasn't failed us yet.
Right.
And, and I say this on the week that, Captain Marvel came out and is destroying the box office right now. She's just going ham. And so it's like, will we see one that fails? Yeah, I'm sure. But I don't know that anything is too crazy when you've got a good team.
Right. I kind of took the question as far as like some with IP, the intellectual property, as far as like the start jump off fails at the go. Cause like Thor, while the origin movie it was okay. It was fine for an origin story. Like I said, Dark World definitely was not good, but then Ragnarok. So I wouldn't call that IP a flop. And honestly, it's hard right now. Marvel is the machine that's pumping out the hits. Mm-hmm. So all you can do really is speculate on the next ones that are coming out. And the closest one I could think, but with Marvel, they'll probably turn around on its head and maybe not, is the Eternals.
Yeah.
Just because it's very high concept with the Immortals and being so many years in the past. And like I said, I have complete faith for what they're producing, that they're going to make that good. It's just if any of their upcoming projects, IPs, have a potential flop, that one, just because it's so unknown and it's such a high concept story, like maybe it won't hit, but then again, I doubt it. I'm pretty sure they're going to do a way to make it an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Are they still planning that Howard the Duck movie?
Possibly. I don't know, man.
I think it's gone to like a Hulu TV series maybe or something.
Okay. That's probably for the best.
Yeah. Now we could get into like, he did say the MCU, but there's also, we got to think about some of the streaming TV series could end up being flops.
That's true, yeah.
But you never know. But like, Marvel's on such a roll, but you never know. Like I said, there's always hit and miss. Iron Man 3, like you said, Iron Man 2 for a lot of people.
Fun fact, Iron Man 3 actually did amazing in the box office.
Did it?
Yeah, Iron Man 3 is like in the top 5 in the box office of the Marvel films.
But how is it regarded?
Critically, so I mean, that's another thing that brings into another part of the question. What do you consider a flop?
Right.
Are we talking about a critical flop? Are we talking about an audience critique flop? Are we talking about box office flop? Because those are all different things.
Absolutely.
I still stand by, like, even though I said that Captain Marvel, which I actually went and got to see this weekend, and spoiler free, but it's amazing. You should go see it.
What? People told me online that it was going to be
You
bad.
should not listen to those humans.
And it was not for you.
They are wrong.
They didn't want you to watch it.
No, it seriously is an amazing film. But I also stand by what I've said before. Just because a movie does extremely well in the box office does not equate it to it being a really good movie.
Indeed.
Or a movie that does poorly in the box office doesn't mean it's not an outstanding piece of film. I mean, most of the movies that you see on the award shows, not that is also an indicator of whether it's good or not, but most of those art films, they don't get a lot of money, but they're still extremely good. That's just...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I recently watched and reviewed Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
What considered by most in the film industry as like the most seminal, best movie ever made. It was a box office flop.
Yeah.
But it later found its roots, So I mean, like, you can't always judge how well a movie does in the theaters as good or bad, and vice versa by opinions of either critics or even fans.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Any ideas on that, Jerry? Or was Howard the Duck your?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much my main retort there. I mean, I like the weird shit.
Yeah.
In Marvel, absolutely. And I feel given the right, writers and everything, you could do pretty much anything.
Indeed.
It's just, there probably will at some point be a breaking point.
Yeah.
Whenever they decide to start doing how the comics are doing and put Wolverine or Deadpool and everything.
Yeah. Well, and so that's one of those things. Maybe I judge my opinion on whether or not Kevin Feige's still at the helm of the ship.
Right.
If Kevin Feige's still leading this thing, then maybe not, because he seems to have an eye and an ear for what makes these things successful and for talent. You get somebody else in there who is the driving force behind these things, who listens to more of the people with spreadsheets in offices who don't really know what they're talking about, and maybe then you do have the Fox version of the MCU.
True. I just realized something though, and I think it'll be a determining factor if this IP is made, it will be the flop. Based on Jerry's recent Facebook memory, how excited he was for Green Lantern. When Beta Ray gets his own movie, that'll be the first IP flop. Because Jerry can't have anything nice.
You just broke that man's heart.
I couldn't resist. It was that memory, like, Green Lantern's in 3D, y'all. You were so happy.
Because, like, the last thing I'm pretty sure that came out in 3D was Avatar.
Right.
Not The Last Airbender, but, you know, the James Cameron
Blue
movie.
Cat Peoples.
Yeah.
I remember when that came out, man. There was a lot of hype behind that.
Yeah,
Like,
and then they tried
Green
to
Lantern
make...
was super hype. Yeah, for sure. I'm giving him a hard time just because, like, that memory popped back up. I feel so bad for
him.
him.
I will say that I did go in with low expectations and saw things that I wanted to see in it, and then I was like, yes, I'm leaving it alone, but there were effects and stuff in there that I wanted to see that I thought were pretty cool.
Well,
the
hey,
story in general was just...
I think that's the right attitude to watch films with. I mean, look, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, not the worst superhero movies, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life was the Fantastic Four film with the Michael B. Jordan joint. That movie's fucking hot garbage. Like, it's really bad.
Really
but there
is.
were still things in there that I appreciated. There were still moments in there that before I got completely drunk and obliterated, because that's what it did to me, that I actually saw that I was like, hey, they did that. Is that
why you drink? You didn't start drinking until that movie,
was
right?
it. No,
yeah.
I blame
you're a good Christian man, and then that movie came out, and you just downward slope.
I blame Fantastic Four for my emergent sodomite and alcoholistic ways. That's what it is, definitely.
Oh man!
So, dude, that's a good question though, and I really appreciate. I mean, we've just filled up some time talking about it, but it's all speculative at the end.
Course.
And I will say this, you know, I just to introduce this, I said flops like Iron Man 2 and some other films. If those are your joint, if that's your jam, then that's awesome. And I don't want to try to yuck on your yum. Like that's just my opinion that those movies are flops. And if you like that, like it, like what you like, and don't be apologetic about it. If you love those, come tell like, hey, no, here's why I love that movie, and we'll talk to you about it, because at the end of the day, we just want folks to appreciate things and have a good time, whether it's Marvel or whether it's a DC movie or whether it's an Image property or whatever it is. You know, like what you like, and we'll talk about it. And find reasons to lift things up and not tear them down. I feel like I'm having like a Kevin Smith moment. All right, so Sean, this one's for you, buddy.
Clearly.
Coming at you with this one. And this comes from my brother, Frankie De Jesus. And Frankie wants to know, for all the wrestleheads, what are your favorite video package for upcoming matches? And he even threw some links in case you were wondering what he means. And I was. I was wondering what he means.
He said upcoming matches. I
He
didn't
did
catch
say,
that.
I know, and I wasn't sure if you meant the upcoming pay-per-view, like recent, or I went old school.
Or like before, yeah. Okay.
I picked classic.
Yeah,
just,
I picked
just because there is, like, in wrestling, there are promos of just like someone cutting a promo like right before they go out to the ring, or there's video hyping up a month-long feud, a multi-month-long storyline build up to a big match. I took that for it instead of just talking about anything recent, because it's upcoming pay-per-view, actually tonight, as of this recording. It's going to be a pay-per-view, that's for sure. There's nothing really hype about it. I hate to say, but who knows? I'm always regardless. I love wrestling, so I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Yeah.
But my pick was I want to say it went on for maybe close to a year or longer. It was the Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels career versus streak match.
Ooh.
Shawn Michaels had already faced Undertaker at a previous WrestleMania in the Hell in a Cell as tradition, and Undertaker did beat him. Michaels went away for a little while, then came back in the much not the same as it used to be DX reunion thing. We're talking they're in their 40s.
Wrestling isn't wrestling.
Yes.
With Max Landis.
Yeah, as they point out, thank you. As it came back was like not the same.
Yeah.
It's just
Speaking of which, if you haven't watched that, watch that.
It is. Wrestling isn't wrestling. Yeah. Thank you for that. And what it came to, they made the storyline of this is Shawn Michaels. He's been wrestling since the mid to late 80s, and his career is coming to a legit end. That's real life as well as in the story. And he never beat Taker. He was like, I want to beat Taker before I go, because I know my time is limited. And then Taker kept denying him his match. And just a long emotional, just talking about, like, I only got one last dragon to slay, because Michaels has done everything in the wrestling business. Right. And there's just a beautiful wrestling package that's showing the year of him trying to convince Taker, and Taker finally agreed, but only if he puts his career on the line. And I'm not going to give away what happened at the end of the match, because you have to go watch some wrestling.
I said Max Landis. I'm pretty sure it's Max Landis.
Yes.
Which kind of funny story that's what you picked. I did Shawn Michaels versus Triple H.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 2002, this SummerSlam for that year. I found the promo for it, and it's like, long friendship turned rivalry and everything. And, they like Triple H threw his face through a car window at one point.
It happens.
Yeah. And it just seemed like a really badass rivalry. And then, Shawn Michaels came out with the win because I feel like at that time it seemed like Triple H was the heel.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that was, I'm trying to remember, was that before they reunited as DX? It was just kind of like in between them. It's kind of.
Yeah, I think it was 2002. So.
Yeah, so I want to say that's before they reunited as DX. I think that the second DX coming happened after they beat the shit out of each other in this feud where just Triple H always felt like he's under the shadow of Shawn Michaels and just wanted to prove he is the game, the cerebral assassin, all that good stuff.
I just love how like he found out that Shawn Michaels was hurt and he ran out and he was like, "Oh my God, is he okay? Is he okay?" And they had like the blurred image or whatever, and then they showed it and it ended up being him. Oh, yeah. Like, oh shit, twist.
Right. It's that high drama, redneck anime, soap opera for
that is still one of my favorite things you have ever said. So I do have one.
Oh,
and it's funny you went with Undertaker because mine is Undertaker Mankind.
Oh, classic.
Their giant rivalry, which led to one of the first. I don't know if it was complete cage matches. Like you'd had cage matches.
Hell in a Cell where it went up the top?
Yeah.
Second one.
Second one. Okay. Yeah. Just this was back in the Attitude Era, and it was some of the most brutal matches ever. And to the point that I think it blurred the lines on whether or not you were actually watching wrestling, something that's stylized and athletic, but for entertainment, and actually just watching two men try to kill each other.
It was definitely watching Mankind put on the most entertaining match that damn near killed him.
Oh, dude.
In the spots he took.
Like,
for sure.
It's hard for me to say that Mick Foley's not my favorite person in wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Because just everything that dude did was cool.
For sure.
And scary. Dude love, all that stuff. Yeah. But no, dude. So they had this amazing rivalry, and it really was who can put their body through the most hell. And that's like, it made for good TV. I think it probably did some psychological damage to all of us who watched it. But it made really good television.
Yeah, because I'll take any opportunity to talk more about wrestling. Little quick details about that. When they had planned for them to start at the top of the cage. When Mick Foley got up there, admittedly he said as slow as I possibly could. Undertaker got up there twice as fast with a broken foot. He actually had in that match. That's why Taker, while definitely held his own, wasn't quite as active in that match.
Right.
Quickly throws Mankind off the top of the 20-foot cage, dislocating his shoulder as he lands on the announce table, dragged up top. They popped it back in, and he ran back down for another spot on the top of the cage. Cage was not supposed to break when he got chokeslammed through it, with a chair landing on his face, knocking out his front teeth, one of which went up his sinus cavity. You see it sticking out of his nose. Oh, great shot. And then the thumbtacks, and then a match actually happened. That was just the opener. It is absolutely seminal. And while, yes, it is a scripted show, it is a performance, you can't fake gravity.
No.
And Mankind, God bless. He is one of my favorite wrestlers.
Oh, wait, gravity's not real, though.
Shut up, Jerry.
Only on the flat earth, Jerry.
I'll hit you with the flat earth. All right. So our brother and fellow podcast, one of my podcast kind of gurus, the guy I take a lot of lessons from, Mr. Bill Zanowitz, who you can find on the Comic Book Bears podcast, when you should go listen to that because it's a lot of fun. He asks us, for all the co-hosts, what has been your biggest about face? Is there any comic, film, album, etc., whatever, that you once dismissed or disliked, but you now consider a favorite? I have two on this, but I don't want to go first, so I went first on the last. Or no, I didn't. You talked about wrestling last time. I'll go first. Yeah. Fuck you. I'm taking mine.
Are you even here right
now? No. So I have two because he mentioned album. So I want to say the first one is a character. I was that guy when you mentioned Superman. You know the guy I'm talking about. Oh, Superman's boring. He's got a blah blah blah. It's just meh. I was that guy for a long time, and while Superman is still not my favorite character, I've learned to appreciate that all of those things are relatively just bullshit. There's a lot of nuance in Superman stories. And so books like Superman for All Seasons really changed my mind on what Superman was and could be. Jurgens, when he was writing Action Comics and Superman, some of the best Superman stories of all time came out of Dan Jurgens. It really just flipped my opinion on it, on its head. And like, now that in retrospect, like I'm annoyed with some of the, like how staunchly I just dismiss Superman because 60% of what makes Superman great are the people around him. the humans, the very mortal beings that are around him that really define who he is. And that makes a great Superman story. And if you miss that, if you're just focusing on the man in the blue tights, which there's a lot to focus on there too, but if you miss that, then you're missing so much of what makes the DC universe as a whole amazing. And so yeah, that's my biggest about face. My second one is music. It's Lady Gaga. So I listened to a lot of metal, and especially in my younger years, like I was 20 years old when Lady Gaga hit the scene big. And us plebeians down here in Arkansas finally figured out what she was. And I just was like, I introduced it to some friends of mine, but it just wasn't my bag. And I just didn't care. I was like, no, it's over processed. It's just more pop music, yada, yada, yada. And now I've kind of about faced. I still don't listen to her a lot, but she is one of the most phenomenal artists working in the music industry today.
You went and saw her in concert,
I did.
Right? Did that help?
A little bit, yeah.
Because music-wise, there's a little bit I wasn't going to put on the list, but like there's some songs I may not have cared for on the album, then saw a live performance, and it turned me around on that song. So sometimes seeing it live helps.
Oh, for sure. But I think I'd turned my opinion around on her before that, just because I like some of the artistry that she does. Right. But I will say this: I've seen a lot of big bands in concert, a lot of huge bands. The loudest stadium I've ever been in was in Oklahoma City for Lady Gaga. It hurt my ears. And like metalheads got nothing on Gaga fans.
Wow.
Those little monsters get loud. And one of them was my husband screaming in my ear. So,
of course.
So that's mine. Yeah. Superman and Lady Gaga, who may or may not be the same person.
It could be. I guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
I will 100% you on Lady Gaga. I actually used to have a coworker whenever I worked at Subway night shift. He would always have headphones in and stuff whenever we were closing, and he would sing, and it drove me fucking crazy. Like entire albums of her. And I was just like, just because of that, I had a stigma towards it. I was like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Well, now years later, I'm singing songs of hers in the car and everything like that. So yeah, here I am.
I think it's just because we're getting old and softer with our music.
Old and softer. Yeah. I'm going to go with kind of like, maybe like a movie style.
Okay.
Like black and white films. Growing up, I was just, no, that was for old people. I did not like the style of it. It just did not appeal to me because, CG animation, everything was coming around, and this was like awesome action, everything like that. Two of my favorite films now is the original Night of the Living Dead and Seven Samurai. And they completely turned me around on that altogether. Like, just, it's one of those things you can't judge a book by its cover, but it's also, a thing of after your mind develops after so long and you kind of open up to more things and you can enjoy other things. Like, it's definitely one of those things that comes with age.
Mm-hmm.
No, for sure. Mine is a pretty damn big one as far as like turning it away when it first started and now what it is a part of my life.
Don't say me.
And I brought it up before. Jerry is no, but I've mentioned it before. My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
As much as we praise and go on about it, I read the first chapter when our friend Bryant threw it out to us. Didn't care for it. Didn't want to follow up. Didn't read a second chapter until the anime came out. Watched it animated and time changed. I guess anime taste changed. I think I was harder into comic books and superheroes again. I think around the time the anime started. Mm-hmm. And now I'm fucking obsessed with My Hero Academia. It's one of my favorite anime of all time now. Nice. So yeah, when I first read that first chapter, like, nah, I'm good. I got enough.
Yeah. I mean, and you want to go that route with it. That was One Piece for me. Really? I was a very, I want my anime serious and lots of action and stuff like this. And, that guy stretches like rubber and this other guy has 3 swords and this is so dumb and everything. and I had a friend that just like kept on and, eventually they were like, here, check out this YouTube fight and everything. And it was just amazing. And then I got into it and the rest is history. Right. Like,
so on those lines, I could kind of throw out just manga in general out there for me. Mm-hmm. I think some of my only exposure to manga for the longest time was Shonen Jump stuff. Mm-hmm. And still that's the majority of the exposure I had. But I think I kind of, in my brain, and I don't know why because it's stupid, because it's a medium and not a genre, right? Like, in my brain, I kind of just decided that all manga was shoujo stuff, was One Piece or My Hero or these things that are a little bit that they have a lot of depth, but they are more geared towards adolescence.
Right.
And that's just not my, I can appreciate those things. Kind of like, Ronin Island, the book that we read today for our roundtable, kind of that same vein. And I can appreciate them, but they're not going to be my favorite. And I'm not going to go out of my way to really find them unless I really trust the writers. But then Sean introduced me to horror manga.
Yeah.
And specifically to Uzumaki. And that opened up a whole world of other stuff that I've been missing. And my buddy Vince Bonavilla, Vince B he lives in Pennsylvania, huge manga fan and reads a lot of like horror manga and underground manga and stuff like that. He introduced me to a guy that I've spoken about before, Shintaro Kago, whose art is bananas good and terrifying. And so that kind of opened up a whole new world of what it could be. So I've definitely flipped on that.
Yeah.
Like if you asked me what my opinion was on manga 2 years ago, it's definitely not like it's 180 by leaps and bounds to what it was today.
Oh, for sure. I do have one movie I'll throw out real quick before we move on the next day, because typically I don't normally like see a movie, hate it, and then never go back to it. But The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, he's investigating the books that can summon the devil. For those of you who may or may not know, I saw it in theaters. I worked at a movie theater when it came out, watched it, and left fucking pissed because the ending is very ambiguous, very like didn't answer anything. And something told me to buy it at a $5 DVD bin years and years later. And I watched it again, and now I actually really like the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess because sometimes I think when there is that kind of an ending, like I hear a lot of people like The Village. Also felt that way, disappointed by the ending. I guess I already knew the ending, so I liked it. So I flipped on that movie. So it can happen like once you know an ending, you can kind of appreciate a movie better, even if you didn't like the ending originally.
Go back and see other things that you may have missed.
Yeah, exactly.
Sean's never going to admit it to me, but I know somewhere deep down he went back and watched Sharknado and he really likes that. And he just doesn't want to admit it to me.
Nope.
Maybe Twilight. Maybe Twilight was my big flip.
Get out.
No, I started off liking it.
Come back in.
Come back.
Come back.
All right, we got a few more that we're going to get through before we get out of here. Our brother Robert Hafferman asks us I like this one. If you can have a team up book combining one DC character and one Marvel character, whom would you choose? And who would be the creative team? And Jerry has his hand in the air.
I want to start this one off.
Okay.
Beta Ray Bill.
Go figure.
What? Yeah. And DC's Frankenstein.
Okay.
I just like the idea of these two non-human people like teaming up together and fighting bad guys. I did too, by the way. Surprise.
Who's the creative team on it?
For Beta Ray Bill and Frankenstein? I would have to go with either Jeff Lemire, Cullen Bunn, or Mike Mignola for those. Because I feel like it would be a very like interesting sci-fi horror. Like you'd be mixing elements there, and I would be.
I think Mignola writing and drawing that book alone.
Yeah, I was going to say
worth the price of admission.
3 people that you just said.
Yeah.
And then the other team that I came up with was Scarlet Spider, but not Ben Reilly, Kane Parker. Right? He was like the more evil one. Got cured of his spideriness, like being a big scary spider monster, and I can't even remember. He was dying, basically. Deteriorating.
Is that the word you were looking
for? I think so. Yeah, that'll work. I was going to say dematerializing, but that wouldn't be right. So anyway, him teamed up with the Creeper.
Oh.
Just because I think the Creeper would go really well with any spider people, but the Creeper kind of has that. He does have like a conscience mentality, but he's not afraid to fuck someone up. And he's a pretty decent, being I believe he's an investigative journalist now, sort of. So it makes him a fairly decent detective. So him teaming up with Kane, who he's kind of got to keep, from crossing the line is a pretty interesting combo, I think. And
that is an interesting combo.
Nice.
I don't know a lot about either one of those characters.
Yeah.
So I need to. Those are two that are kind of in a blind spot for me.
Yeah, they did a run for Kane a while back. Man, they just need to bring Creeper back in something.
He made an appearance recently.
Yeah. But he was with other people, so I don't know if his appearance is even really going to be that important.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Oh. My pick, and I am not going to neither confirm nor deny if I was aroused the entire time I was creating this. Just fair warning. Runaways and Teen Titans.
Okay.
Dream Team written by Brian K. Vaughan, the original writer of Runaways, and drawn by George Perez, my forever Teen Titans artist.
I love you.
Short synopsis. All out battle with the Runaways' parents, the Pride, and Deathstroke, Jericho, and Ravager, his family, versus their makeshift family of teams.
That's a good one. No, yeah, for sure.
And now I can confirm I am erect saying it out loud.
What hit the bottom of the table? What was that?
Anytime we get George Perez drawing a book, you're going to make me happy. I love that man.
Yeah. I mean, those are like some of my favorite teen teams.
Yeah.
I almost put in New Mutants, but I don't know why Runaways and Teen Titans fits so much better for me. For this pairing, and because I want Brian K. Vaughan to write it. And of course, anything George Perez puts pen and paper to, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's retiring now.
It's sad.
I know I've said
but
this.
Deserved.
I hope I get to meet him at C2E2 in 2 weeks. It's like the last chance I'm going to get. Like, I will cry if I don't. I just want to shake the man's hand. Don't want to. Like, I mean, I don't even know if I'm taking any books to sign or anything, but I just want to just shake his hand
for sure.
Tell him thank you, because he is that guy for me. Yeah. He's that guy. So I have one that it's one character that I know a ton about, and another character that I'm only like vaguely familiar with, tangentially familiar with, if you will. So I would love to get a Scarlet Witch and Zatanna crossover. Just a magic heavy book, coming from different places. You could even throw in Raven in there if you want to, as a kind of a foil, but really just a strong female-led book with lots of witchy weirdness, to see how they would work together, see how they play off each other, because their magic, it stems from two different places, and two different ideologies of what magic is. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be neat to see how they kind of, like, one of them is very much a mutant power, but also a religion. And the Zatanna's, from what I gather, from what I've read of her, is kind of what we think of as stage magic and sideshow magic, but real magic for the masses, so to speak, that comes in really handy. And the other one, hers is very controlled. Wanda's is very disorganized. It's literally chaos magic. So I would love to see those two characters kind of thrown in with each other to have to figure each other out, kind of a yin and yang situation. And I would love to see Kelly Thompson write that with Joelle Jones on the art, because I just want to see Joelle Jones draw Scarlet Witch so bad. What she's doing on Cat, everything that Joelle does is just good. She's so good. It's not fair. She's got talent, and I don't, and I just want a little bit of it. I'm not entirely sure she's human, because she's also a good writer. She's killing on Catwoman, but nah, dude, those two individuals, I would love to see that book. So,
hell yeah.
If we ever get amalgam or amagram, as some people like to say, if we ever get that,
I love the ampersand comics that they made.
Right. If we ever get a chance to get those books, I think that would make a good story. Mm-hmm. I don't know that many people would care. Maybe just me, but
isn't that enough for you though?
It is for me. Yeah, it makes me happy. So
I'm kind of sad that apparently those rumors were never true of them working on something like that again.
I think now that the two companies are owned by larger entities, I don't think you'll see it. I think we're seeing Marvel team up, like getting a lot of stuff done with IDW, so they can work with a smaller company. DC, they do a lot of crossovers with other companies. You get, IDW again, to be specific, you're getting like Batman and Ninja Turtles, but I don't know if we'll ever see another Marvel DC crossover, just because they're too much of major competitors.
Right.
I would love it if they would. I just don't expect it. So, all right. Last but not least, certainly not least, especially in the eyes of Jerry, Stephanie Straw. And this kind of stems out of a conversation we were all having last week about the Savage Avengers book that's coming out. And she says Brother Voodoo is the best choice for Savage Avengers, which I agree with. And Wolverine is boring, which I agree with. So change her mind, which I can't do. So I'll let you guys field this one.
Same.
As I look at it, okay.
Well, I'm the only one that did homework, apparently.
No, I have something.
No, I'm not going to change her mind that Wolverine's a boring character.
No, look, okay. Look, here's the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Has Brother Voodoo been in 9 movies, only 2 or 3 of which considered good? I don't think so. Has Brother Voodoo lost his entire flesh, muscle, and skin, yet his skeleton still Ray Harryhausen out of the lava pit, defying all logic even by comic book standards? I don't think so. And finally, Wolverine represents a very unused demographic in comic books and in comic book movies. He is not representing the white straight male like Wolverine has. We need more representation in our books. So there you go. Your mind has changed, Stephanie.
So, I mean, wow.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All jokes aside, so I don't dislike Wolverine.
I do.
He's a character that I prefer him when he's with a team. I think he works very well as a foil, specifically with Scott Summers. I love when I see those two together. They play off each other really well. Wolverine has had some great stuff come out. Like Wolverine's, I mean, his rivalry with Sabretooth is one of my favorite rivalries.
I mean, he did have a series called Savage Wolverine.
Well,
right?
and yeah, that's true. And like, I think that's why he's on a series called Savage Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit, so there's 3 characters when you want to use the word savage that I think of in Marvel. I think of the Savage Hulk, I think of the Savage She-Hulk, and I think of the Savage Wolverine. If you're trying to do something different, if you're trying to make a team that is playing off of that word but is not what you would expect, then I think it's a little bit too easy to use Wolverine, just like it would be too easy to use She-Hulk and Hulk. So I don't disagree that it's kind of a boring choice for a Savage Avengers, not because I don't think they can do something dynamic with it, just because I think it's predictable.
Right.
Are you sad that Kazar is not in this book?
I'm sad that Kazar's not in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Nah, dude. I mean, but like, I mean, for that particular book, it would be like, I don't want to see, well, Kazar's a derivative of Tarzan.
Yeah.
But having Tarzan and Conan in the same book would be kind of odd. Having Kazar and Conan in the same book, especially because they're kind of the same person. One of them is just a little bit more Tarzan-esque. I don't know that would work. I mean, it could. And you get a good writer on it, anything can work, right? But for that team, I'm just not sure that it would be what I would want it to be. Now, if this team is going to be like, what I don't want this book to be is turn into X-Force, right? Like, and that's what, like,
definitely getting that vibe.
If you're getting, like, if this is supposed to be an Avengers team that's not afraid to kill or not afraid to just go to the ropes, like, that's cool. That's okay. But don't make it X-Force. If you're going to make it kind of like X-Force, don't pull in an X-Force character.
Yeah.
We don't need Deadpool. We don't need Domino. We don't need Raina. We don't need these. Yeah. We don't need these characters that are known X-Force characters. Like, we've already gotten that story, right? So we don't necessarily need it again. So yeah, I kind of agree with Stephanie on this. It's a little boring to just shoehorn, not even shoehorn, because it's not a hard fit. It's kind of like, it's the easy way. Yeah. It's the obvious choice, to where I think there are some other ones that aren't. And I love Brother Voodoo. And right now, Brother Voodoo and Wanda, Scarlet Witch, are dating. So that's kind of amazing. Brother Voodoo is fun. He's a weird, wicked character. He's somebody who's not afraid to get his hand. I mean, he's doing voodoo, right? Like, there's necromancy involved. Like, he'll get his hands dirty and he'll do some really witchy, crazy stuff. And his character design is cool, yada, yada, yada. It's going to be a fun book. So I don't know if we're changed her mind. I don't know if I can change her mind, because I'm kind of right in there with her. But,
well, hold on. One more point though.
Okay.
This will probably change her mind. Brother Voodoo never had his adamantium ripped off his skeleton, resulting in him mutating into a noseless man-ape.
Also,
boom. There you go.
Why isn't Noseless Man-Ape the name of a punk band?
It can be, Caleb. We can start it now.
It should be. Well, that's all the questions we're going to get through today. We've got some more in the queue. time wise, we unfortunately we didn't know Craig was going to get the plague, and so this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, which is not a bad thing. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. And we hope Craig gets better soon. And so we're going to wrap this section of it up, and we're going to move into our getting ahead of ourselves round. Before we do that, though, I always have a before. I feel like that's becoming my new catchphrase. What are we doing next weekend, guys? We're all going to get together someplace.
Oh, we are going to be at not just another Comic-Con.
That was a test, and you passed.
In the Little Rock area.
Yeah, so out at the Airport Holiday Inn Convention Center, our friend Larry and the great people over there are putting on Not Just Another Comic-Con, which is really a horror comic convention. It's not a comic convention per se. Going to have a lot of film people there. Going to have a few comics people there. Really, really going to be a good time. If you're in the central Arkansas area or the peripheral and you don't mind a little bit of a drive, I know we're going to have a booth set up. We're going to be there all weekend. I know you guys are planning on being there all weekend. I have to work a little bit, so I'll be in and out. I'll try to catch everybody if you get there. But if not, the guys will be there. They'll be happy to talk to you and sell you a t-shirt or just talk to you about what you're enjoying, talk to you about the con. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. We'll be having a panel on Saturday, and on Sunday, I'll actually be hosting a Q&A session with Child's Play actor Alex Vincent.
Oh, dude, that's rad.
Yeah.
You excited about that?
Hell yes.
How many
movies are my jam.
How many times are you going to watch Child's Play before then and now?
17 times.
And I'm actually going to be up there with my model building group as well, Gunpla and Chill, and we have a panel as well.
Very cool.
I believe it's on Sunday at around 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a panel myself. I'm doing the representation panel. I think it's Saturday at 9.
Sweet.
Or Saturday at 7. One of those two. I'll find out.
Whenever you show up, right?
Yeah, basically when I get there. The party doesn't start till I walk in. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great weekend. We've been to this con, I think, 3 years in a row. Individually, we've been at this con since it started. The podcast, this is our second year going as the podcast. Had a blast. I actually revisited some of those interviews that we did not too long ago, just to listen to them, and they sound great. They went great. The sound quality could be better, but that's neither here nor there. So come see us. We would love to see you guys. If you're walking around and you listen to the podcast, let us know. We'd like to meet you if we don't know you. So, all right. So New Comic Book Day is this Wednesday, and we are all going to converge on our respective places of buying comics to pick up our new books. And I love New Comic Book Day, man. It's my favorite day of the week. It's when the new stuff comes out and we get to dive into a new batch of that good. So there are a few books coming out, and I'm going to since Craig is not here, he's usually the one who leads us off. I'm going to let Sean jump into this one first.
All right.
And tell us what he's looking forward to. What are you picking up this week, buddy?
I'm picking up Rat Queens number 15. This is going to be wrapping up the Infernal Path arc. That honestly started off a little slow for me because there's a lot of just like what's real, what's not reality, but it's really turned into an interesting look upon gods and how they have, especially in a fantasy realm like this, about how there's always been in D&D and Pathfinder multiple gods and stuff and their effects on the world. It's really kind of dived into that towards the end, and I've really been enjoying it. So it's going to wrap up that arc, and I can't wait to see what the next one's going to be.
What about you, Jerry?
Mine is actually going to be The Magnificent Miss Marvel. It's a new solo series for her, I believe. They don't have one going on right now, correct? They have Miss Marvel?
Is this one the one written by Saladin Ahmed?
This is.
Okay, yeah, this is the one that started.
Yeah, Saladin Ahmed, Minkyu Jung, and Edward Petrovich. It's a new ongoing series with Miss Marvel. There's like nothing much more you can say about it. Excitement.
Fun stuff. Kamala's pretty badass.
This will actually be my first time reading one of her solo series. I've been reading her in Champions, and I think she's an awesome character. I really liked I can't remember if it was called Champions, but the little mini series that they did on Disney XD.
Mm-hmm.
I just went back and watched all of those not too long ago, and yeah, I love her character. I look forward to reading this solo series with her.
Badass, dude.
Yes.
Saladin's a good writer. If you haven't read much stuff by Saladin, you should go look up.
Not to my knowledge.
He did a book called Abbott, which is really, really fun. I think that was an Image book. You should check that out. It's so good. He's a solid writer. All right, so the book I think that you all would do well to pick up this next week is Assassination #1. It is written by Kyle Starks, art by Erica Henderson. So I'm turning into kind of a Kyle Starks mark. I love that guy. He just wrapped up his Mars Attacks book, and it was so much fun. So much fun. This is a kind of a brand new thing. It comes out of Image, of course, as in Image Comics. And so what this looks like is it's a former hitman. He hires 20 best assassins in the world to be his bodyguard. And these are the worst of worst people. And they're trying to keep the new crime boss safe while attempting to solve the mystery of who's trying to take him out. So it's an assassin protecting himself from assassination by hiring assassins, which, as you can see, that could be problematic. So we're going to see.
There's some flaws in that plan.
And knowing Kyle Starks are going to be the best flaws. So that's my book. All good books coming out this week. Craig, who does have he sent me his list. He says that everybody, us included, need to pick up Albatross #1 from that one guy who does that one series called Hillbilly, if you've heard of it. Eric Powell, I don't know. He also does this one book called Hillbilly, and that book called Hillbilly.
Have you heard of that book, Hillbilly?
There's a book called Hillbilly that Eric Powell does.
I heard that.
I think he might do Goon too, right?
Maybe, but also Hillbilly. No, so this is relaunching Goon. It's going to come out. Craig loves this stuff. I haven't actually read any of it, so I need to. I need to put it on my list of things to absorb. But if Craig tells you to pick it up, you can bet that it's going to be worth reading. So and Eric Powell's solid, dude. He does that one book called Hillbilly. So all right, that's our books for this week. Ready to bring this thing home, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we really appreciate you joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed doing it. If you want to come hang out with us, you can always find us on our Facebook group. You can also check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We're going to be there. We're at SFG Podcast once again. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit us up on our email, southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And we'll be back next Sunday with a whole nother episode. And that one will be a con episode. We'll hopefully have some cool stuff to pitch out to you. We are deeply sorry that Craig couldn't be on the show today. There's always something lacking when he's not here. He's the heart of the show. We love that guy. And we hope he feels better very soon. Craig, we hope you feel better very soon. So if nothing further, guys, go forth. Love some comics. Woo.